Hello, my name is Alex S. Johnson, and I'm your host, aka Candy Fontaine. This is the Candy Fontaine Show, and my special guest today is none other than Peter Norman of Shrineburner from Chicago. And I'm so excited because Shrineburner has been around, I think, a couple of years. You had your
I I think three
three
three-ish
years.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, and the new album is dropping on September 11th of um, this year. It's called Harvests of Despair, I believe.
Hymns of Despair.
What? Hymns of Despair.
Hymns of
I don't know
Despair.
why I'm like harvest because I'm thinking harvester of sorrows.
That's no
It's
no
it's
problem at
it's
all.
all good. It's all it's so I first I'm gonna introduce you. So let's see, I got my little thing here. Okay. So Um, and if I make any misstatements, you can correct me.
Sure.
So Shrineburner is a Chicago-based sludge doom trio built around guitarist vocalist Peter Norman, who I have right in my virtual studio here. And his riffs feel like less than like compositions, more like rituals, which is kind of has a sort of a sleep vibe, which is one of my favorite bands. So that's a good thing. Formed in 2023, Shrineburner began as a two-man meditation and repetition, heaviness, and anti-dogma fire. Peter on guitar and vocals, Brent Favada on drums. Their early sound was a stripped to the bone mantra doom, slow, punishing, hypnotic, and spiritually confrontational. I'm sorry. And then he chokes to death. 2025, the band expanded to a trio with the addition of bassist C.J. Johnson. And so then drummer Edward Hamill joined shortly after. The first release from Shrineburner, Solitude EP 2024, was a raw document of the band's origins with mantra-like riffs, anti-religious themes, and a sense of existential dread. And they're coming up the 2026 debut full-length Hymns of Despair is a six-track descent into cosmic sludge, political anguish, and meditative heaviness. So, without further ado, Mr. Peter Norman from Shrineburner, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I'm just going to go with, first of all, I'm going to start out with, um, my initial kind of responses and who I saw as maybe part of the lineage or the DNA of your work. And first of all, sleep. I,
Yeah, I
I
love
got
sleep.
I got a lot of heavy. I mean, I got a lot of heavy sleep vibes. Particularly like albums like what was it? Was that Bong Toker or something? Was it like 52 minutes of just one
Dope
song?
smoker. Yeah.
Dope Smoker. Yeah, Dope Smoker. And it was something like that. And Jerusalem. Wasn't there was one album which had different titles. One of it was like Jerusalem, and
Yeah, it was the dope smoker. Yeah.
yeah, it was Dope Smoker. Yeah, by any other name, it's brilliant. And people who haven't encountered sleep, certainly you need more sleep in your life. Definitely. Also, how about Entombed?
I'm not sure I've listened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll have to now.
okay, yeah,
Oh,
Entombed.
sorry, you said entombed. Yeah, yeah,
Entombed, yeah,
entombed. Hell yeah.
Entombed, yeah,
I heard intuned. Yeah,
Entombed,
entombed.
yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, right. The kind of death and roll stuff,
totally.
Swedish death metal with a
Yeah,
little bit of
that's a big compliment. I appreciate it.
of course, of course. Then you got so drilling down Swans. Swans anywhere in there?
Swans, yeah, yeah. I listen to
Swans.
Swans. I listen to a lot of noise rock
Yeah,
on my
noise
own
rock.
time. I'm big into Melvins and Jesus Lizard.
Okay, there we go. There we
Yeah,
go. Boris,
yeah. What Boris?
Amplifier Worship,
Yeah,
Sun.
I'm about that. I
Yeah,
play a lot of Sun stuff.
yeah, Sun is amazing. You remember they did that performance where it was they they had a kind of a replica of their gear on stage in plaster or something like that, and they were playing
I
behind the
don't
scenes.
I don't know if I'm aware of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, right. I love that. I mean, so yes, Sun, I've interviewed them, and God, I've interviewed everybody. Lemmy, I think that there's a really neat kind of lineage from you have bands like Motorhead, and then Sabbath, kind of giving rise to this sort of Godflesh, which is introduced that more of like it slowed it down and put a different kind of a beat to it. It's much more mechanical. It's much more like you're being pounded slowly into the pavement and you're loving
Totally.
every second. Bands like Shrine Builder. So I remember seeing them in like 2011, right? And that had what's his name? Is it Chris Cisneros or Al? I
Al,
keep
yeah.
Al Cisneros from Sleep and Wino from everything, right? Saint Vitus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Vitus, man.
Yeah.
Like I gotta have some Vitus in your diet.
Yeah. Dale Crover from the Melvins drummed in Shrine Builder too.
Oh no way.
It was an awesome band, yeah.
Oh wow. Melvin's man. Yeah, I actually wrote a story called that was inspired by just the title Stoner Witch, because that's
Yeah.
a killer
It's one of
title.
my favorite albums of all time. I love that record.
Right, right. Um, Not Buzzcocks. I'm thinking, what's that? It's similar name. Um, anyway, I'll think of it. But yeah, so you got like everything from Ministry, Skinny Puppy, DOA, Motorhead, all these confluence of sort of, but so how do you think? I'm always interested in the history of how sounds emerge, from like Sabbath, obviously, the very, very heavy, doomy aspects, right? You have Lord of this world, but you got like
Yeah.
Electric Funeral and sort of proto doom songs like Hand of Doom, obviously,
Hmm.
and then people who were inspired by Sabbath and Pentagram, obviously, but they take it to an even heavier place. And so, how do you see that progression over the years?
Um, I I don't know. I think personally, I think I can speak from my own perspective. I listen to like only Black Sabbath. Like
Yeah,
I am obsessed. Ozzy is my idol if I were to have one. Hell yeah.
yeah,
I love it. I cannot get enough of
right,
those Ozzy era Sabbath albums.
yeah,
But I don't play guitar like Tony Iommi.
right,
Um, and I'm not really interested in doing that. But I think there's a ton of influence in the music that I write based on that. I think to go broader and more to your question,
yeah,
I think kind of like what you were saying is people heard that and then it's like, okay, how can it go to the next level? How can it get heavier? I mean,
right,
you listen to those old Sabbath records and they stand up, they sound unbelievable.
right,
Especially with what they had access to at the time. But even, you listen to like the reunion
right.
live album, like the amps are updated and it's way heavier. Like,
I know, right? Like
there's
I was actually there. I mean, I was like at the reunion show. Um, it,
That's
it was
amazing.
it was right. Okay, so it's like literally Ozzy, and I was friends with the the publicist for Lemmy, and so who was with the wives at the time. So she was with like Wendy Dio and them, and I remember like Ozzy, he had this thing where he would like moon the audience,
Yeah.
right? And he's just like, yeah, and everybody's going, no, no, Ozzy, we don't need that, but it's Ozzy, but it's wrong, but it's Ozzy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like when he's dropping trow and she put up her hand like that, and Tony Iommi's cracking up.
Yeah, I saw them in 2012.
Oh, that's
on
badass.
that 13 tour, and yeah, it
Yeah.
was amazing. But even more to my point, like you like the recording of Snowbind, and it's amazing. It's in my
Hmm.
opinion the best song of all time,
Yeah.
and it's heavy as nails. But you know later on you get like these updates in amps and technology and guitars and pedals, and it's like seeing it live, it's crushing. Like there's
Right.
so much more distortion. So I think that as amps have evolved and people have decided that you can use them in different ways, stuff has just gotten heavier. I mean, that's not to
Yeah.
say like I play like predominantly 70s amps and you can make
Right.
them crushing, right?
Right. Right.
But
Right.
yeah, I think, sorry, I get sidetracked, but I think it's just progression of people hearing stuff that's heavy and being like, cool, let's make it heavier. Like, how brutal can we take this? Whether
Right.
that's out of anger or just love for music or
Right.
anguish, whatever it may be.
Yeah. So, so of course, I always like to define the terms. So, I mean, I think it's almost like do you ever see the movie Decline of Western Civilization Part Two, The Metal Years?
I actually don't know that I have.
It's pretty badass. I mean, it's really funny because it takes place. It was sort of it was a sequel to of course, the punk documentary by Penelope Spheris, who later made Wayne's World. But it starts out with like Motorhead's Cradle to the Grave, right? And it's like it's got like Aerosmith guys and it's got Megadeth and all that. And it's a pan shot of like this crowd and they're lined up to see whoever, Kiss or whatever. And and Cradle to the Grave is playing it, and then she asks them like, so what's your definition of a metalhead, or what's a it's like somebody who's like KNEC, metal, whatever. I mean, they're so
Yeah,
like there's if you're a metalhead, you understand that it's so it's so fucking awesome that you really words that it's just like, okay, I'm gonna take you to a show, and then you'll see your beer vibrate, and you'll feel it in your stomach, and you'll understand the crushing waves, like
yeah.
you're like like a what's that that song, mental health, or it's like
Like Quiet Riot.
right, it's like
Yeah,
it's like you're a rebar being driven into the ground by a pile driver, right? And it goes "Chum," like that, and you're just like, "Hey, I'm there for it."
yeah.
What is heaviness? I mean, it's like you're a musician, and so there's a technology, there's things there's quantifiable and quality. There's quantifiable things and the qualitative things, right? Heaviness is is a is not is a quantitative measurement. It's a sort of a feeling. It's a vibe.
Mhm.
It's an emotion, and it's very pleasurable for fans. But how do you achieve heaviness on a qualitative? I mean,
I
quantitative.
mean,
Yeah.
decibels, volume.
Yeah.
Like I can plug directly into the front of my
Mhm.
Tucson Model Ts and turn them up to 10, and it'll
Okay.
rattle your rib cage with no pedals.
Right.
You know, there's a. I think that everyone, whether or not you're into listening to metal on your own time or not, should go to like a doom metal show or something where where you're getting obliterated with volume because it's
Right.
a wild experience. Whether or not you, like I said, listen to that kind of music on your own time, you'll have fun going
Right.
to the show because it's like nothing you've ever experienced. So I think like a lot of like our live show is really really loud. Like it's a lot of amps turned up really loud. It's very raw. It's in my opinion emotional, and I think that that's the way that most bands should be experienced. You should go catch them when they're on tour, when they're playing
Right.
a show, go stand in the front, like get hit by the amps, or stand
Yeah.
in the back, like bring earplugs, whatever floats your boat. But
Right.
I think that listening to records is awesome. Going to see bands is like just such a different and life altering experience, in my opinion.
Right, right. So for I mean it's and I think it's kind of like as metalheads or doom heads. I mean there's something, physiological going on as well because obviously if it was a kind of a just a grating or disturbing experience, it seems like it's kind of counterintuitive for
Yeah.
people who do not understand what metal is or heavy, extreme heavy metal. Um, it's very calming. It's very
Yeah,
soothing.
I like frequently throughout the week go over to a studio by myself and just turn on
Mhm.
a wall of amps and play
Right.
through it, whether or not
Yeah.
it's like I'm writing or working on riffs or I'm just sitting there playing like droney stuff. Like it's very
Right.
meditative, I think. There's
Yeah.
there's something about such immense volume and deep frequencies that you're not often around that's like
Right.
very calming. I agree with you.
Yeah, I had I couldn't get her to be, on my broadcast for various reasons, but I had Diamanda Callas, like last month, and she was amazing. She goes into an echo, what I forget what it's called, anechoic chamber,
Mm,
and she takes a bunch of acid or something, and she goes into it, she just like creates her work by kind of you know like putting herself in these extreme altered states of consciousness.
yeah, it's wild what happens when you do shit like that. It's really cool.
Right. How did you get into like just music?
Um, I think I was in like first grade or something, and I decided I wanted to play guitar, and
Hmm.
after a while, like begging my parents, I think they got me
Right.
like a Squire Strat or something for
Right.
Christmas, and
Yeah.
I played the hell out of it. I never took any lessons. I just kind of taught myself over the years, and I don't think I've played for a long time. Like that was probably 25 years ago, and I've played consistently since then. Um, but I didn't really play in any bands until I was out of high school for the
Really?
most part. Maybe some like I guess that's not true. I played in a thrash band in high school, but it wasn't like we were young. We weren't like doing anything.
Right.
We played like two shows.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I got into music because I wanted to play guitar, and then
Right.
I inherited like this box of CDs from a family friend
Oh wow.
that had like a Rancid CD and
Okay.
like there was a Black Sabbath and like Green Day's Dookie, like just
Okay.
stuff like I think there was a Hive CD in there. Like it's not at all what I play right now. I still listen to all that kind of stuff. That was like pretty formative for me, like listening to especially the Black Sabbath, where I'm like, damn, this is crazy.
Right.
And then I think it progressed from there. Like I met a group of people and I think all throughout middle school I was really into like hair metal, like Guns N' Roses
Right. Yeah.
and like Motley Crue, and I still love Motley Crue.
Of course.
But then got into high school and like was really into Metallica, who's still one of my
Hmm.
favorite bands.
Yeah.
Like Sleep, Electric Wizard, like changed my life and how
Yeah,
I
me
play
too.
music. Yeah, yeah.
Electric
Stuff
Wizard,
stuff like that. Just doing
right?
like a deep dive. Like I was doing a lot of drugs and I was young and like it
Right.
was like I was into the stoner stuff. Like it was just like when you first find out about bands like Sleep and you're doing like this deep dive and you realize there's so many of them, it's like
Yeah.
so
It's
life
crazy, right?
changing.
Yeah.
So I think that was the progression, and then even like before Schrineburner, I was playing in a band that was kind of more like garage fuzzy,
Uh-huh.
and then kind of towards the end of that, it got heavy, and then
Okay.
I just kind of when that band broke up, I decided that this was more like this the style of music that Schrineburner is like what I play on my own time.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, I want to go heavier and like do something
Right.
different. So like down tuned the guitars to be standard and found some like-minded people, and so far it's been great.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So it also feels like you're not afraid to build and kind of edge the audience. I mean, like the actually the vocals don't come in for a
Yeah.
while. And it's just like, and it feels like you think that's heavy, and then all of a sudden it's just like gets insane, right?
Yeah, I think a couple of us in Schrineburner are really good friends with some of the members in the band Minsk, if you know them.
Hmm,
And
I'll have to
they're
write that down.
I admittedly didn't get into them like really big
Hmm.
until after had known them.
Right.
And there's a really like I think parallel train of thought in that stuff that's always building seems to be more powerful.
Hmm.
And so in that regard, they have been an influence in like ISIS and stuff like that. I
Sure.
think that that a long build, when if we get into this all the time, me and CJ, the bass player, where it's like
Right,
we could
right,
shave 2 minutes off of this, and I'm
right.
like, yeah, we could, but
We could, but
then it wouldn't hit you as hard, right? Like
exactly, yeah.
when something goes on for a minute and a half and it isn't
Right,
changing, you every at the end of every measure, your brain expects that it's going to change. And
right,
when it doesn't, it keeps building this tension. And then when it
right.
does, you're like, God damn,
You
I
know
see
that
why they did it.
there's actually a parallel thing in I forget what it's called, but I love movies too, and there's I remember this, the Martin Scorsese movies, classic Taxi Driver, of
Sure.
course, which is fucking metal adjacent, if
Yeah.
anything, right? That is an extremely heavy movie. And he was talking about on this CD or DVD extras how, like, if you, there's, for instance, there's one shot, it's a point of view shot. Somebody's drinking like a glass of water, right? I think Harvey Keitel. And it's boring as shit. Like the camera just sits on the glass, and you're like, yeah, really? But what
Yeah.
happens is that your brain somehow will reinvest in that experience. And so actually, actually, it's sort of it's just sort of like Sergio Leone, like a spaghetti western, right? You see two characters, they're sitting there and it's widescreen. It's the aspect ratio is ridiculous, right? You're sitting there and nothing happens. Like once upon a time in the West, this one character's got a rifle. There's a fly buzzing around, and it's like, and then all of a sudden, this is the action in CinemaScope. He takes the fly and all of a sudden he steps in his rifle barrel, and that is the entire action. And it's
Yeah.
like John Carpenter, who I actually interviewed as well, he
That's
does
awesome.
this too. Thank you. Like he has just a scene like you've seen They Live,
Yes. Yeah.
where you got these you got what's his name? Is in the alley, Rowdy Roddy Piper and this and the other guy, and they're in this alley, and Piper is trying to convince the black guy that, hey, you know what, you got to put on these shades on, man, because look, these aliens, they mean no good, and actually it's like obey and consume and
Hmm.
whatever, and it's the propaganda is everywhere, and he gets so much out of just two figures in an alleyway with a dumpster and posters, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of the, that's what you're talking about. And I always like to relate things to other things that you may not
Sure.
think of. So the reinvestment of your attention span where you're waiting, and it's edged and you're edged, and it's like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, it gets heavier. But
Yeah.
but like but it's a different kind of is it a different time signature or is it a different something you do?
We do a lot of stuff in different time signatures.
Yeah.
There is, oftentimes like a build like that will just be the same riff when it gets heavy, but we're just
Mhm.
clicking on overdrives and stuff like that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think you can have something so simple and have it go on for so long and it becomes meditative. And then when it does change, it's like that much more powerful. I think it's the same idea as like everything in the modern United States is so instant gratification
Right.
and fast moving and you got to be on to the next thing. And I think that an aspect of that exists in all of our lives, no matter how much we want it to or we don't.
Right.
And I think that that is kind of like the way that we write builds and stuff like that is kind of a middle finger in a way to that, where it's
Yeah.
like it makes it more powerful to like sit there and wait and like experience it, and it's not in any rush to get anywhere. Like just it's a sick riff, listen to it, you know? Like that's
Right.
a lot of the builds are so long because I think we're so proud of the music that we're like, let's just play this for a while. It's fun for us, you know?
Yeah.
Um, like when you there's plenty of bands, and it's not a knock to them at all, but
Right.
you'll hear like the coolest riff you've ever heard, and then it's over in 10 seconds, and it never comes
Right.
back in the song. You're like,
Exactly.
God damn it, dude!
Damn it.
Like this isn't a shot at them at all, but there's this. It's the bridge riff in Charlie Chaplin Routine by Whores, who are a
Uh-huh.
fantastic band, really heavy. There's the riff is so heavy, it is ridiculous, but it's
Hmm.
like 20. Like I could listen to him play that for
Right.
15 minutes,
Yeah.
and I understand like it's a different style of music and it serves its purpose, and sometimes a glimpse just leaves you wanting more, and that makes it
Right.
heavier, right? But I think the way that we try to do things is just kind of like a more slowed down approach that I find personally more rewarding to play.
This is kind of bringing me back, and I'm making a mental note just now to listen to bring up Devil's Bride by Electric Wizard, because I remember years and years and years ago, my girlfriend and I were listening to this, and I was like, do you think they were just too high because they keep playing the same riff over and over again, and they forgot how to stop playing?
Yeah, there's this Electric Wizard song. I think it's on We Live.
Yeah, great album.
It's called Flower of Evil, aka
Yes,
Malfiore. And that song,
yes.
the first time I heard it, it like changed the entire way I thought about guitar.
Yeah,
I mean, it's in a weird time signature.
right.
There's like no structure to it. It goes on for fucking ever.
Right,
And it's like this dissonant, like it's like noise rock meets doom. It's so
right,
cool. And to this day, that's one of my favorite riffs I've ever heard. It's incredible. But there's like by the time the structure comes in, your brain doesn't even know. Like when you
right,
first hear it, that riff makes zero sense.
right.
And then it builds and it finally comes in, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And he starts
Yeah,
singing,
right.
and I don't know. I think that's a great example of that. That's a banger if anybody's
Yeah.
watching that hasn't listened to that one. That
Oh
whole
yeah. Oh
record,
yeah. I mean,
perfect.
I could make the whole episode about Electric Wizard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's okay, so there's a song like Saturnine,
Hmm.
right? I think it's from the Black Masses album,
Yeah.
which I love the fact that they that they have a song called Black Masses, which is not a Merciful Fate cover. You know, it's
Yeah,
its
yeah.
own thing. And so it's just like it's one of these like epic songs, and then this kind of din, 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 rise, rise, legions of hatred. All right. And it's just like, yes, you hear this motif in the
Yeah.
beginning, and then, but you don't hear it like really develop. And by the end, it's sort of like, you're like, I don't know, it's like the legions of doom are just coming, it's like a post-apocalyptic wasteland with like zombies or something. It's like you can see it, in
Yeah.
a horror film, like rise, rise, legions of hatred. Anyway, I always fantasize about making movies where I'd have like it's a pure doom metal soundtrack, and I get
Oh yeah.
like, Acid Witch, right? Or just heavy, heavy bands, or I really love Monolord,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Okay, so you start at um what was like the how were you trained? Did you take lessons in guitar, or did you
No, I never took
self-taught
lessons.
or
I just kind of figured it out by myself.
Mhm.
I was kind of lucky growing up in an age where like the internet was a thing, and I think that like YouTube was like about to be maybe it was a thing, but it was like about to get bigger, and like guitar
Mhm.
tabs were a thing, so it was a little bit
Right.
easier for me to like I remember like learning Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, and
Yeah.
like I wasn't even like that familiar with the song. I had obviously heard it and I liked it, but it wasn't like I was 7 years old, and it's like the year 2000 or something.
Right.
So like it wasn't like I was press and play on my iPod and I just
Right.
had like instant access to all this stuff. Like, I'm
Right.
young and I have parents and that shit didn't exist. So it was like radio and stuff like that and
Right.
CDs. So I had heard the song and I was aware of it and I liked it. And I remember printing off the tabs and trying to learn how to play it, but I didn't like
Yeah.
know how it went. So it didn't make
Right.
any sense to
Right.
me.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, so just like funny things like that, where I would kind of like think around and I watched like so many instructive videos and videos of bands playing. And like, I was so into it and I couldn't put it down. And I don't know, guitar on me just kind of instantly clicked. And I'm not like, the most polished guitar player of all time. Like I feel like I used to shred a lot, but now I'm kind of more interested in songwriting and like powerful
Hmm.
motifs and heavy riffs and stuff. So no, I never really took any lessons. I've just kind of progressed this way as my style preferences have evolved. And I think that um, currently my playing is as much myself as it ever has been. I think that I have a really good idea of who I am as I get older, and I
Yeah.
think my playing reflects that as well.
Do you know the story behind Smells Like Teen Spirit? Just
I'm sure I do, but not off the top
yeah,
of my
but
head.
it's just like okay, Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill was a friend of Kurt Cobain, and Kurt was dating this girl, and she and he went across the street from his place, and she got you know bought this deodorant called Teen Spirit, and so Kathleen Hanna was like pretty wasted. So they get back and she's like kind of almost blacked out at this point. And she's got a can of spray paint or something. And she decides that it would be like a great idea to spray, you know, um, Kurt Cobain smells like Teen Spirit on his wall. And then, and we've all experienced this. She wakes up and it's like, okay, so am I in trouble? Did I do shit?
Yeah,
Yes, probably. And so she didn't want any contact with anybody who was at that party and at all because she knew she probably did some shit. And so she gets this like 2 months later, she gets a call from Kurt Cobain and she's like, oh, holy shit. What did I do? I'm so sorry. He says, no, man, I wrote a song. Thank you for the song title. It's like, what?
that's
It's
awesome.
like, yeah, right. I wrote this song called Smells Like Teen Spirit, which has nothing to do with, the deodorant, but I
Yeah,
think that's great.
that's funny. I didn't know that one. It's awesome.
Yeah. So you deal with a lot of themes of like anti-religion and anti-dogma, and how did those like philosophical themes kind of come into play for you?
Um, I grew up in what I would say is like an averagely religious household. Like
Hmm.
we went to church and stuff,
Right.
and then but it wasn't like crazy like God or anything. But I just think as I've gotten older and experienced what I have in my life, I just think that it was really I never really that never resonated with me. I didn't ever really believe in any of that. It's always seemed culty to me in like a bad way. And I think as I've gotten older and just, you gain a better understanding of how the world really works
Right.
and you see through these facades that whether or not we want to, all of us are fed from birth.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's whether or not it was well intentioned when it began, however many thousands of years ago, what it's become is a way to control people and instill the will of a few to the
Right.
masses.
Right. Right. Right.
And it's the same thing as politics to me, where it's ultimate control, it's power hungry psychopaths that
Yeah.
should be 18 feet underground. I think
Yeah.
every single one of them.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think yeah, I just I have a repulsion to organized religion. I think that spirituality is awesome, and I would never knock on anybody believing in what they believe in, but I think that the way that organized religion, specifically Christianity, is
Yeah.
used is to control people and keep people in line, and I think that it's unfortunate that so many people eat up. There's a big guy in the sky that if I do bad things,
Right.
I'll get in trouble. Rather than
Yeah.
reassessing, like, hang on, why am I being told not to do this? Like,
You're right.
it's ludicrous to me.
It is really primitive because it's
Again,
sort of,
it's not
yeah.
to knock anyone's personal
Right. Yeah, of
beliefs.
course.
I
Yeah.
think spirituality is important, and if you have some sort of higher power, then who am I to tell you not to?
Right.
I'm speaking strictly of like organized religion and those
Of course. Of
institutions in
course. Of
place.
course. I think that's very responsible of you, and I think that comes across very clearly. I was, when I was growing up, I I did, fortunately, I had a very kind of a, broad sort of, my background is in sort of Eastern spirituality. So it's much more embracing of other cultures and other belief systems. And it's like, I have to believe that God is going to punish you or, for masturbating or something, or,
Sure.
or smoking some weed.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah. I mean,
But
I've smoked weed every day for however
because,
many decades,
because
and nothing's happened to me yet.
right, yeah. It's like, remember, do you ever see Harold and Kumar go to White Castle? I'm kind of dating
Yeah,
myself, but
I haven't seen it in a while, but I
right,
have.
but remember that they were watching like these ads and it's sort of like marijuana kills
Yeah.
but the new ones for vaping are just as bad, It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, vaping doesn't just harm your lungs, it can harm your brain. I'm like, really? This is why we, as teenagers, we didn't believe those back in the 80s. Those ads in Harold and Kumar are pretty realistic. We had
Yeah.
like,
The
you know,
classic deflated girl on the couch one. You remember that one?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. You like just say no. We had like, oh my God. So like I remember like we had Ronald Reagan, as president, and
Fucking
Nancy Reagan was like, all like just say no, right?
yeah.
And that was just like really, really, so it made me want to like smoke some weed. And I was my first concert was Judas Priest, the Cow Palace in 1982, was Screaming for Vengeance tour, and somebody had some weed. And it was not like today where you don't have to. I mean, this is back in the day where, we were just hearing rumors about some stronger strains,
Hmm.
but nobody had it. I remember when skunk weed came into, my ecosystem, and I'm like, interesting, interesting, but somebody has had a bomber, and you know, it was like the nachos were really, really fucking tasty. And the sound was shit because it's the Cow Palace in the 80s. So they hadn't figured out like the directional sound.
Sure.
But yeah, so I remember just because we're growing up under the cloud of, you know, like nuclear holocaust. And the leaders were very well today. It makes it actually seem totally responsible.
Yeah.
But the
Right.
Cold War, and there's like, people would just like talking every day about like we had movies like The Day After on TV. It's like, holy shit. The only people who were talking about the connections between organized religion and, this warmongering and fears and our actual concerns were bands like Black Sabbath and Motorhead. And it's
Yeah.
like, thank God for Motorhead, and Orgasmatron, because you're listening to that, it's like, oh, Lemmy gets it. Listening to Hand of Doom or Children of the Grave, you're like, oh, Ozzy gets it. Why don't
Yeah.
y'all get it? And it makes it kind of not it's I think some of the cracks in the cracks in the wall start with listening to, whether it's or even reading like You know, I remember reading Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's like, damn, that's heavy. It just seemed to go with the music.
totally.
What are some like non-musical influences you have, whether it's reading, literature, movies, whatever?
I love movies. I love old horror movies. I watch a lot of. I work at a like punk metal whiskey bar in Chicago.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, it's been there for like 30 years. It's
Yeah,
awesome. And it's a lot of old like B horror films and cool old,
yeah,
concert footage
man.
and stuff like that. So I watch a lot of B-roll horror movies without the sound.
Yeah,
So I've probably seen hundreds of movies and I have no fucking clue what's going on in them other than what I'm watching, which is
yeah,
actually kind of awesome. But I do love old horror movies. The Thing is one of my favorite movies of all time, maybe my favorite movie of all time. And I think there's always going to be crossover between like those cool old horror movies and even some present ones and metal music. I think
you're
a lot
right.
of metal heads are really like Electric Wizard was in
Yeah,
Black Sabbath too, just influenced by
right.
like old horror films, and I think stuff like that's cool.
Yeah,
We did one of my favorite shows of all time was it's just the first season, but the first
right.
season of True Detective.
Hmm.
Matthew McConaughey's awesome in that. We did a sample in one of our songs called "Let Worship Die." I think it was the
Yeah,
first song we put out actually,
yeah,
and it's the bridge section is like him basically echoing like everything I've ever lyricized as a band,
nice.
anti-religion and you know just shit like that. I won't give it all away because you should watch the show if you
Okay, yeah,
haven't
yeah,
and
yeah.
listen to the song. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of influences in media like that, as well as just general art. Like I love the movie Heavy Metal, and that
Me
artwork is
too.
incredible.
Yeah.
I'm really into like cool old sci-fi art.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
paint myself.
Oh, nice.
Old tattoo culture, stuff like that is all
Cool.
really
Yeah.
interesting. So I think all of that could be labeled under influences musically as well.
Yeah, that's really fascinating because, well, some of the people that I work with as far as my press nocturnicorn books, like Vale from Research Publications, right?
Hmm.
I remember back in the was it the well, he's been doing it forever, but like the 90s, they had, books like Modern Primitives came out, and that was introduced a lot of people to things like tattooing and scarification and body modification. And that became incredibly influential. And so, I think a lot of, you know, culture, alternative culture or counterculture has really kind of seeped into the mainstream now. You see a lot more
Yeah,
people who are just like, sporting some tats or sporting some whatever, um, or,
I feel like it's become more rare to not have any tattoos
well,
now.
yeah,
And like I remember when I started getting tattooed, it was like, man, this is crazy.
it's crazy.
You
Yeah,
don't think of it. It was a different time. And now
yeah,
it's like, I have like my head and my neck and stuff, like
right, yeah,
and nobody bats an, or maybe they do, but like in the circles I run in, like it's normal, right? Like everyone's like,
right,
how are you
yeah.
going to get a job? I'm like, I don't know. I'll probably apply
I
somewhere.
don't
Like, what?
know. I'm a musician, so I kind of, well, I mean, I see a lot like, I see people working at, retail or regular stores or, grocery stores or whatever,
Yeah,
and I think and even at like, going to like, you know, um, the hospital like Kaiser, I see a lot of, I think it's a really great development that people are much more, understanding and accepting of different kind of hairstyles or different, or even
totally.
like, body shapes or whatever, gender, it's
I
just like,
never understood why like the tattoo stigma, any of that stuff.
yeah,
I don't understand why it's anyone's business. It doesn't like I
right,
don't
yeah,
I don't have like I understand if you are running a mom and pop shop and you don't want
right,
somebody with like a
yeah,
cock tattooed on their face, but like beyond that, like what's it to you? It doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah, yeah,
If somebody's hair is blue, like what does that do for you? I don't why does that so bad in your life? I just don't.
right,
It's never made sense to me.
yeah. I
Worry
want to
about yourself.
worry about yourself. Now, one of the things that's most delightful about, what I do is like, is working with people who are kind of part of the punk rock lineage, and people like Iris Berry, who practically invented punk rock, you know, and I think a lot of that culture was incredibly inspirational to a lot of people because it represented freedom, personal autonomy, and it's like,
Absolutely.
is this really going to damage or hurt you if I have a different hair color than you, or I have a different perspective on authority than you, or I just have some words that maybe you might not use in your everyday vocabulary that, might be a little more confrontational. You talk about some of the cultural influences, like, mentioned tattooing and things like that. It could be just friends or scenes. How did you get into, like, I mean, like tattoo culture or
Um, I was really into punk rock in high school, and still am. My first tattoo was the Misfits skull.
nice.
I never really intended to be. I have like my whole body covered in tattoos now, which was never my intention.
Yeah,
Um, or maybe intention is the wrong word, but I'd never planned on that, right? Like I got a
yeah.
tattoo and I was like, yeah, that's cool. And there's something about like getting tattoos. It's like once you get one, you're toast. Like or at least
Right? Okay.
for me and a lot of
Yeah.
people I know, it's like you get one or a few and you just like end up wanting more. I don't know what it is about it. I think that like there's something meditative in that pain and the art form.
Yeah.
But I've always fancied myself a pretty good artist, and I've drawn forever
Right.
and painted, and I do pretty much all of our design work and designs for different bands, across the country and in Chicago.
Yeah.
And so that aspect of tattooing has always been really interesting to me too, just different forms of art. And I've been really drawn to that one, and I think that there's cool history behind it. I briefly was tattooing for a little bit and ultimately was just like, where do I find the time? I
Right.
can't. So I kind of left that behind, maybe to be revisited one day. But I love. We worked with a tattoo artist in Chicago. He painted our album cover. I love um, the old school Chicago tattoo kind of
Hmm.
style
Right.
so there's so many awesome shops with people that have such unique styles.
Right.
Uh, I think shops like Golden Ghost, like those are no shade to anybody else, but those are the best tattoo artists in this country. Like they
Hmm.
are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm wowed when I see work that's coming from places like that,
Right.
and it's inspiring. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I really really like art, and I think that
Yeah,
that's
me
always
too.
been, if I can wear shit that I love forever, hell yeah, that's
Right, of
awesome.
course.
And I have been lucky enough to make a lot of friends with different tattooers. So I think that I have a lot of really interesting pieces from my friends and stuff that they've wanted to do over the years. And I think that that's equally as important, is not just being like, okay, I want this,
Right.
and instead going to an artist because you like something that they've drawn
Yeah.
and that's their style and that's what you want.
Right.
I think that that's a little more special. That's not to say that I haven't walked in there and been like, all right, we're doing this today,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, I just think that whole art form is so much harder than anybody who decides to buy a $50 Amazon machine and then practice on themselves and regret it
Right.
2 years later, which
Right.
seemed to be the
Right.
COVID trend.
Right.
It's so much more difficult and impressive and amazing than normal people that don't
Yeah.
tattoo give it credit for.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's a ritual. You mentioned like it's very meditative, and the pain and the endorphins, make it a almost spiritual experience. And I only have the one. I'm just going to show it to you because this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
very personal. It's a very classic design, and Ace of Spades, right?
yeah.
Because Lemmy. So,
Hell yeah.
I thought, well, when one time when I was interviewing Lemmy, this was the Inferno tour, and it was 2004, and we were out on the patio at it's a hotel in Beverly Hills, and with the late great Phil Campbell, right, guitarist, is also Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, and he played also with the band the Iron Maidens, right? And Lemmy, of course. And Lemmy's got like the Lemmy Scotch. Right. And I'm like, holy shit, it's Lemmy. And what are you gonna do, right? So
Yeah.
I just I started asking questions, but then of course I gotta get a selfie, right? And he says, okay, so we're gonna do the pinky wish. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, mate, I want you to make a wish, mate. And it's just like, put out your pinky finger. And it's like, holy shit, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to be telling this anecdote years from now, right?
Right.
It's like, put your pinky around my pinky and make a wish. And then, Phil Campbell's taking our photo with my camera. And I'm like, holy shit, photo credit, Phil Campbell. It's me and, Lemmy Kilmister. And I thought, well, I should document this because it's spiritual. You know, he was a wonderful, wonderful person. And I feel like it's almost like the gospel of Lemmy. Like I could go around, it's like some people are all, whatever, Jesus. I'm like, yeah, but he was a real person and he was really
Yeah.
decent. He was a lot better than most people who are evangelistic. And I thought, well, I gotta have something to, remember that. So I was at the Rainbow Bar and Grill and with uh Abdul Nazruddin from Crisis, and I was saying, hey, Abdul, like I'm thinking of getting a Motorhead tattoo. And he's sort of like, well, you want to get the logo? And it's like, yeah, but something, well, maybe I'll hate them, So, uh, and he said, what about the Ace of Spades? And I was like, yeah, because you can, you know, that's durable.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an all-time classic.
I love this about, you know, um, music, metal, art, because it is very deep, and you do make friendships that are lasting, and it's a camaraderie. How did you like? How did you find your crew, your friends?
Um, so in the band, I met Brent back when it was just me and Brent,
Yeah,
when we started the band. We both worked at the same bar. And we were just chatting one day and he mentioned that he played drums and I was like, hey, we should, jam sometime.
right.
And then I learned that he's very, very good at drums.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, sick. We should start a band. I wasn't doing anything musically at the time. It was kind of this is probably 2022 or something. Um, it was like a very transitional time in my life. There was a lot of stuff going on that sucked. And
Oh
I
wow.
wasn't playing music and I really wanted to. I had missed it. I hadn't been in a band in probably like 6 months or something, which felt like a long time.
Hmm.
So we just jammed and we clicked pretty well. And I had Let Worship Die. I already had written, so we clicked on that pretty quick and released it as a single. And then we wrote a few more songs together and put together that EP. And we
Hmm.
played a fair amount of shows as a two piece with just like a lot of amps. So I met him through work,
Yeah.
and then CJ, who plays bass in the band now, has recorded us in the past. He didn't do this record that's coming out in September, but he did our EP.
Oh wow.
I met him and Zach, who plays in Minsk. I moved in with them actually. They were looking for a roommate
Hmm.
right before COVID,
Oh wow.
and I had heard through a friend that I was just looking for a room. I didn't like know them at all. And hit them up, and they were like, "Yeah, come over. Like, let's have a beer, see if we click. Yada
Right.
yada." Went over there. We hit it off right away. I think I moved in like 2 days later, and then COVID hit like a week
Hmm.
after that.
Wow.
So we got to know each other pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
And they're awesome dudes. CJ does a lot of film stuff, and he's a phenomenal guitar player, and bass player, and then Zach plays in Minsk, and he has his own
Hmm.
projects, Asphodel Wine and True Velvet, and he
Oh,
also
wow.
builds basses at Lakeland.
Okay.
Uh, Geezer Butler plays at Lakeland, like
Nice.
they're really nice basses.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I met them through that, and then Ed, our drummer, plays in another band called End It All in Chicago that are really fast, crazy, kind of like full of hell.
Right.
They're awesome. We shared a studio space with them, and I had remembered seeing them. We played a show with them, and he was amazing. And I just kind of reached out and asked if he would be interested, and he was all
Mhm.
about it. And we
Yeah.
got together, just the two of us, and I think we jammed for like half an hour. And I left, and I was like, "Cool, this is the guy."
Yeah.
So that's how I met like the current
Hmm.
members of the band. Yeah, they're awesome dudes, and there's a lot of talent. Ed is also an amazing mastering engineer.
Wow.
He mastered our new album, so they're great musicians, but there's a lot of other areas of talent in from everyone in the band, which I think is special and kind of
Yeah.
rare.
Cool. Okay, we're coming up on the hour, so upcoming shows, release, how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah,
And
we are doing an album release show if you're in or near Chicago at Beat Kitchen. That's going to be on September 2nd, 2026. We're going to play the
okay,
whole album live.
nice.
We're going to be joined by our friends in Seethe and Barren Air. Anybody can Google that and we'll give you the ticket links and details and all that. The album officially comes out on September 11th. There's a music video. We got a bunch of merch, and then we will be working on putting together tours either late this year, early next year.
Okay, so the album is Hymns of
Hymns of Despair,
Despair. The band is
Shrineburner,
Schrineburner, and I've been speaking with Peter Norman, the core architect of Schrineburner, and it's been a pleasure. And so I'll send the link to Dave, and we'll, you know,
right on.
right on. So this has been a really, really good time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time, and thanks for listening
Absolutely.
to our music and being nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, take care.
Cheers. You too.